Hello, and welcome to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. I'm Erin DeVos, and I'll be your host for this season. Join us for insightful interviews that explore the work of up-and-coming independent filmmakers from all over the world. If you're passionate about film and keen to learning about the creative process from the future cinema greats, this podcast is a must-listen for you. Our mission is to provide listeners with the engaging and informative conversations about successful and innovative films, including features, shorts, documentaries, animation, and web series from across the globe. The DCIFF Film Chat Podcast is a unique opportunity for independent filmmakers to have their voices heard in a way no other film festival can provide. You can listen to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast on all podcast platforms or visit our website at DCIFF-indie.org/DCIFF-podcast. Thank you. Welcome the cast and crew of The Other You to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast, and their film will be showcasing at DCIFF 2025 on Thursday, February 13th. So again, welcome all to the podcast. This is my biggest podcast interview that I've had so far. So
Thanks. Thank you for having us. Yeah, we're a go big or go home group.
right. Exactly. So it's like which other yous are out there. So cool. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. I know we're going to introduce everyone who's on the podcast itself. So we're just going to go around, or would love for each of you, starting with Shoshana, the director of The Other You, to share a little bit about yourself as well as the film. And then for others who are here too, just feel free to introduce yourself as well. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having us, Erin. My name is Shoshana Rosenbaum. I'm the director of The Other You, and I live in Washington, D.C., so I'm really excited that our festival premiere is here in our hometown. We made the film locally, so it's really exciting for us to be able to share it with the local community, and we're super excited to be at the Avalon on February 13th because it's DC's oldest operating movie theater, I found out, which is really cool. I mean, I've been to the Avalon a lot to see other stuff, but I didn't actually know that. So it's a great venue, and we're just super happy to be here.
Wonderful.
Julie, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Julie Gold. I am the screenwriter and a co-producer, and I am from Maryland. And I'm also thrilled to have this hometown because it's really exciting to be able to come. And I know sometimes things are far away; it doesn't always work out. So it's phenomenal, and I'm just really pleased to keep working on this project with this wonderful group of people.
And I'll just jump in and go next. My name's Kimberly Skirm. I first joined as the casting director on the project, which was just an amazing creative journey, and also came on to produce as well. And I'm happy to be joining you today. And yes, having our world premiere in Washington, D.C. is fantastic. We're really excited about that. And thank you for having us.
I'm Ann Saul. I was the director of photography for the film. And yeah, same. I'm really excited that we get to have our premiere so close to home and bring out all our friends. So it's really exciting.
And I'll jump in. Hi, I'm Stacey Dickerson. I play Mimi in The Other You. I was brought onto the project by the delectable Kimberly Skirm. We have had a professional relationship for many years, and I was very honored that she offered this opportunity to me. As soon as I took a look at the script, I thought, absolutely, I'm in. It was so smartly and carefully, thoughtfully written. So excited to be here.
And last but not least,
Never least, Chris. Never least.
I'm Chris Arnold. I played Jack and the other Jack and a few other Jacks. I don't know how many total.
I think there are 5. Actually, no, I think there are 6.
And living in DC area pretty much these days. Kind of like what Stacey said. You when you see, I mean, I didn't see the script yet. I think I just saw the sides at first. But when you see the chance to kind of do a scene with yourself, big challenge, and I was pretty excited about that. So
Very cool. Well, welcome all. Thank you so much for introducing yourself as well. And Shoshana, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about what The Other You is about.
Absolutely. The Other You is the story of a woman who finds a little door in her closet that leads to another version of her life. So it's a story about a woman in midlife who she's a writer and she's also a wife and mom. She has 3 kids and she's trying to make space in her life for her creative work and balance that with everything else that's going on. That's it in a nutshell.
Yes, true, without giving too much away. So, yeah, no, I'm very excited to see this film and to be able to premiere it at the Avalon too. It's such a gorgeous theater and, to be able to join you guys there as well. Thinking about like the elements and maybe like a little bit of everyone can kind of join on this question I'm asking is related to so the other you, I think Chris, like you had mentioned, like it was a role where you kind of like see yourself like a double version of yourself. And so I'd love to know where the inspiration for this film came from, but also what it was like to see double or, as you mentioned, like your name was Jack, and I just kind of thinking like, Jack of all trades, but Jack of all use in this case. So
Well, Julie, maybe you can start with the inspiration for the project.
Yeah, I think something I've been thinking about for years is this concept of mental load or emotional labor. I used to think it was emotional labor, but I think more accurately mental load in this day and age, how household labor and parenting and family duties get split up, sometimes less intentionally than they might. And I think Gen Xers, such as myself, maybe having imagined that that would just be easy and just happen because, we're modern and these are the times. And finding out that it doesn't always shake out like that. I'm, both in my own life and talking to friends, and I'm also a clinical social worker. So hearing from a variety of clients about these themes that would be coming up about the challenges in that. And I thought, we don't all necessarily want to pitch our partners out, but sometimes like turn up the volume a little bit, on those things we like. And so that was what it was born from, was like, what would that be like in this, uh, fantasy world, literally, if that could happen.
hmm Oh, definitely. Like it kind of gives me that, oh gosh, what's that movie called? Oh, well, like, Interstellar in the sense of like kind of like there's the fourth wall that's behind it, but also like this version of ourselves that is either like futuristic or even beyond that. So I thought that was really that's what it made me think of. And like, well, even Narnia too, like even in your poster kind of made me have that feel to it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it's a portal fantasy like Narnia, though in ours, it's the characters on either side of the door go through it. Not all of them, but some of them go back and forth. So that makes it, to me, even more interesting than like a traditional portal fantasy where, just a character goes through and then the people on the other side never cross. But in ours, some of them go back and forth.
Yeah, I love that. What was that like to be able to convey the story from the script to the screen, like in terms of trying to map that out?
Well, Anne, maybe you can speak to that a little bit as our director of photography.
We were talking about this the other night on another talk, and a lot of what I do when I read the script is very emotional and visual response to what I'm reading when I'm coming up with the ideas for, what it's going to look like and, how we might approach whatever's happening, to the audience. And so with this one, there's not just one, in a way, it's like you're working with multiple locations, but you're in one location. So it makes it a little harder to come up with, ways to explain to the audience that you're in a different location, even though it looks the same. And so coming up with ideas, that conveyed the feelings behind the two worlds. And yeah, it was a lot of, visual references and stuff that we were trying to go for, or at least on my side, that I was trying to go for, to help, direct, the audience a little. We talked about when we did our first rough cut, we shared it with a couple close family friends just as following. And a lot of people had issues with, where am I? Where am I? Because we didn't have any color grading yet. So it was all very, muted colors and stuff. And even though we shot, with different temperatures and stuff, it didn't convey as well without the color grading. So it definitely had an immediate effect, when we used the color grading, in this moment in time. But yeah, conveying, the I forget what I was talking about the other night, the temperatures, the real world versus this, closet world. And the real world is, for
stressed out and anxiety ridden mom, and a lot of people in general, especially these days. Today's, it's a cold, world with a lot of stuff going on and a lot of overwhelm and a lot of intensity and a lot of movement and a lot of so we went with, cooler colors. And then we went with, there's the mess, the general mess of the patient, but also just, kind of the mess of the camera movement. Kids are running around you. So you're following kids, you're following action and movement and poking and mom, 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 mom. And it's all this, and you're conveying that visually, to your audience. Whereas when you go through the portal, you're in this place that just feels more comforting, more calm, more, warm. So we went with warm tones, warm lighting in those situations. And, everything visual wise was a lot slower, smoother, less handheld, more intentional body movements or just still movements. Just to help convey that to the audience. So, if you blink and you fret, she went through the door, you know where she is. So you go get coffee and come back when you're streaming it later when you've got it on Netflix, So, yeah. So it was a lot of, just working through different films that I've watched, different feelings I've had while watching other films, whether they're portal-like films or just in general, locations that feel that way.
That was great because that always helps me and also like our audience like to understand like the visual creative process that it involves in it, because two different worlds in ways, dimensions in that sense in terms of what the main characters are experiencing. So and yeah, I guess like on the flip side of that too, like Cece and Chris, as you're like acting in these kind of like different worlds and in ways like kind of like seeing double for yourself, like what was that experience for you?
Well, it was, we weren't really, I was thinking I was going to be seeing myself and, but then you realize you're shooting completely different scenes on completely different days. But there were times when you would be, because it was the same scene, just kind of tweaked color temperature wise, that I would have a moment of, wait, which Mimi am I? Right. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. But the energy was so different. And that was the thing that really drew me to it, was the challenge of being able to stay consistent to who the person was, but to accurately present two versions of that person and have both of those people interacting and responding to the counterpart in a true and authentic way. Right. So to remember to respond to Annie, me as Mimi in the real world, responding to Annie in a real world way that was authentic to who real world Mimi was. And then do the same for closet version of Mimi. It kept us on our toes for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
Definitely comments. Yeah. We feel like, wait, what are we shooting?
there's a lot of challenges there. Yeah, I was thinking about in the script, Annie has to sort of go along with maybe the closet version being the same version. So like you don't want to stray too far away from the characters, but like I was thinking that on a one day you see a friend of yours, and then the next day they get a haircut and they get a little extra pep in their step. It's the same person, but they just look and act slightly differently. And so what I wanted to do with the Jacks was kind of say this is the same person, but maybe they've had just little different experiences that might show up visually. And for the closet Jack, he was into yoga. So I just thought he might have a better posture. And just that subtle thing, it's not really much that anyone's really going to notice, but they might feel that change between them. And that was just one way to sort of like subtly distinguish them physically on screen. So, but it was, I know Shoshana will end up talking about like shooting this stuff in sequence. Well, all over the place. And one day you're closet Jack, and now you're this Jack, and this, So that was a lot of fun. A challenge, but it was a fun challenge.
I love to hear that because when I think of the first film that I typically think of when I see like doubles is Parent Trap. And so with kind of like that in mind, like it just always puts me in the perspective of being like, yeah, like who's who, like how am I acting like this out? So to get like the behind the scenes and also like kind of the emotion behind it is really insightful.
I would just like to add that as I reflect more and more on the film, like all those issues I was talking about are true. But as a kid, I loved Parent Trap and I loved Bewitched and I loved I Dream of Jeannie. And I recently had an epiphany, like, oh my gosh, that guy made his way into this. I just wanted to make it happen.
No, Parent Trap was definitely something I thought of immediately when I read Julie's script, just because of that classic like split screen and how do you do that and how does the actor play off themselves in terms, and as a director, like how do you approach that? I mean, it was definitely, so yeah, Parent Trap was something I thought about right away because that's like the classic, I don't know, version that I've seen of like doubles all the time throughout the movie.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, Shoshana, I talked about this at our regional premiere, that I was blown away. Not that I didn't have stellar expectations, but I grew up with the original Parent Trap and then watching the second one, and I loved them both. And it was never lost on me. I was always fascinated. I knew as an adult that it was movie magic. It was clearly there were not two of them, but how seamless it was. And to see how magnificently our team and Anne and Shoshana just made it happen. I was like, wow, this is not, we've got some real talent here. It's not all locked away in the hills of Hollywood and in the Burbank studios. We have it right here locally. We've got real talent that are able to bring these concepts to life and to execute it beautifully.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Stacey did remark afterwards, I was busy looking for the lines.
Yeah, and we have to give some of that credit also to our special effects artist who's not on the podcast with us right now, Christina Perez. And as Ann and I were talking about earlier, Christina was on set with us and was part of the camera department. And that was hugely important because as we were setting up a double shot, we could say to Christina, okay, where's the line going to be? Where can the actor not cross the line? Just all that stuff. She would help us. And we'd say like, is this okay? And she would be like, oh yeah, I can work with that. Cause she was going to be the person in post to address it. And she did a beautiful job. I mean, I can't see the line. It really does look seamless.
Yeah. There is no line.
It's all real.
Very totally real.
Genius casting.
That's it. Yeah.
So many twins.
Yeah. But having Christina there was definitely, that was a godsend. She was amazing. Because a lot of it, we hadn't done a whole lot of this before, and you read articles about all the little things that can go wrong, and you read up on all the little, tips and tricks and how to make these things happen, how to make it look real. But it's not until you have somebody who's, literally going to be touching it later in post, affirm that I've done it before and it's easy and it'll be fine. And it'll be, it's that kind of thing. She's just very chill about it. Calmed us all down.
Yeah, and also just to say, this performance would make it happen. I mean, kudos to the actors, because I mean, more than one test viewer honestly did ask, like, where did you get these twins? I mean, because they really pulled it off.
Yay!
Wow. So I mean, it's remarkable what you all, the actors, did in terms of being able to play off yourself. So.
Yeah, and I would throw in also kudos to the casting director for bringing us such amazing actors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I follow wherever Kimberly Skirm goes. I follow her. If she crooks her little finger, I'm like, okay, I'll just get in the details later. I'm getting on a plane. We trust.
No, I love that. Like, you guys are kind of also reminding me of, well, not only just how seamless, like it, but also like the production of it too. One of the films or a filmmaker that I interviewed with, like, had used like actual twins like in his film, and so it was eerie because I was just like, wait, like that should be a double, like right there too. But it was so, I don't know, that thought just made me think of it. One kind of like thinking along those lines too, like challenges in writing a story that involve an alternative or multiple lives.
That's a Julie question.
From the reading side of it, it was definitely like, there were moments where I was like reading through the script and I was like, wait, who is talking right now?
I had highlighters, I had post-its, I had numbers written, I keep going back and forth and back and forth.
I got colored pencils. I will say there was something that bedeviled the production that I think is a window maybe into my mind trying to do it, was a computer, right? So Annie, as a writer, she has a computer, and the number of times we were like, oh my gosh, where is the computer? Which world is it in? And therefore, did she need to have been carrying it through in that shot, and did we mess it up or did we not mess it up? Can we redo that or should we just ignore it? And I think, but though of course it was perfect all the time, so you still have to redo.
Continuity, yeah. In continuity, there's always a challenge, but in this kind of film, it's even more of a challenge.
But I just think, that's a little window into my mind too. Is like, where am I? Am I here? Am I there? I don't know. Like, let me just dive in and see and try to fix it later. It's like post-production in my mind and trying to track it with the script. So yeah, I think the computer is a good touch point for what that was like, both metaphorically and really.
And I think another piece of that is typically when you're writing characters, they're so dramatically different that it's easy to tell. But the whole point is that these were just different versions of the same person. So you couldn't language wise make them too different. So it really came down to performance and direction of performance to intimate the differences of people. So it was such a nuanced issue that, again, was really a part of the casting, knowing actors that could have the scope to be able to understand that nuance, because it's not just black and white. And if it was just black and white, I don't think it would have been as interesting to watch because it was so fluid between these characters in the different worlds. And even just a little piece like, oh, do we want to give away secrets that, Chris looks taller as the one character because he just kept his shoes on all the time. So for like part of people thinking it was twins was, it couldn't be the same actor because one's taller than the other, but they look so similar. So just again, the nuances of the performance, I think, is what makes it very believable. It's easy for a suspension of disbelief to happen because of the performances. And that, again, also comes from direction. That just doesn't happen on its own also.
Sure. Kimberly has just revealed my secret that I do most of my acting with my shoes.
Yeah, pro tip. That's good to know. Cool.
When I was looking at it, I really identified a piece of me. It was not a really hard shift. I just had to remember, should I have my earrings on or not in this scene? But I so identified with, the closet version. That's who I am. That's who I think people see me experience me as in my real life. But I have a much lighter side of myself, which was the real world Mimi. And in my head, sometimes I'm real world Mimi, and people are looking at me like, you're scaring me a little bit. You take it down a little bit. Take it down a notch. So it really gave me an opportunity to drive both of those personalities. But it wasn't out of my scope because I'm like, this person lives in me. And I think a lot of the viewers that will resonate with them as well, because I think everybody sees the duality of their personalities and how they have to call up different versions of themselves for different occasions and to make different things happen in their lives.
Yeah, that was well said. That actually teed up one of a question that I had, which was what do you hope audiences take away from the other you?
I think everybody takes away something different based on what they bring to it, like with any piece of art. But I do think it's an ultimately positive film in that I think it both addresses real things where, many people get to the midpoint in their life and they want look around how did I get here? Or this isn't what I thought it was going to be exactly. And at the same time, I think everybody's fascinated. Literally everyone I say the elevator pitch to is like, I want a little door in my closet. It's a very attractive idea, right? That we could go through and go to just a slightly better, slightly different version of our lives. But I think ultimately, it's also an opportunity to appreciate the things in your life that you might not have if you're always kind of thinking of the grass was always greener. So I hope that, that they take both the possibility of what things could be away from it, but also the appreciation of, what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Also, communication is everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with all of that. And I also hope that it can be a springboard for people discussing division of labor, mental load, and what that might be like. So that's something I hope it can be a continued part of a conversation of that. And it would be great if we, were thinking about talking to people in that space, influencers or what have you. It would be really interesting just to keep that conversation going.
Well, and just a very simple message was family is teamwork.
Right.
That everybody needs to pitch in. And I think that was just a great takeaway, is that you saw when the kids were helping what that looked like in juxtaposition to it not helping. So I think springboarding the conversations, but just if at the very least people walked away and thought, oh, I could contribute a little more. And there is some homes where the division of labor is totally opposite. That the dad does stay home and the mom's out, and he too is wishing. So I think we're just pointing out that we just not focusing on our life and what we're doing within this family, but how it's impacting each other. And that's just a great message, whether you have kids or no kids, married or not married, just even if you have housemates. So I think a 20-year-old could take away from, oh, maybe I'm really forcing this mental load on my roommate, and I shouldn't be. So I think it has a lot of overarching messaging, not just the obvious ones. So that's going to resonate with you.
Yeah.
Very unique and genuinely.
And I just wanted to thank Julie for the ending was so thoughtful. It wasn't tied up in a nice, neat bow. I don't think anyone saw it coming. I didn't. It was not that contrived, happily ever after. It's like, we're going to have to maybe shift and adjust. I've learned some things about myself and I'm good with them. And I hope you are too, but I really am. And how it can still work. It's not the right or the wrong ending. It's just moving forward in a way that's more authentic to ourselves. So,
well, there's still work to be done.
But always.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And one of so one of the final questions that I had that's kind of based on this conversation too for everyone is, if you could walk through a door into another version of your life, would you?
Absolutely. I mean, just to check it out. I mean, that's I would want to get stuck there with.
right.
Yeah, I would not to. I mean, if it was like the portal in our movie where you can go back and forth. Not always. She does have some moments where it's not working, but ultimately, yeah, I wouldn't want to get stuck there. But I mean, the idea of like exploring another version sounds fascinating.
What if you didn't know you could come back?
Well, then I probably wouldn't.
But you don't. Maybe you don't know until you go.
Well, yeah, that I don't know. Well, what about you?
Listen, I find it compelling, but then I also just live happily in the trials, the tribulations, the successes of my own life, because each one of those stepping stones is just a stone, or a puzzle piece in my puzzle of life. So if we make too many changes, then we're not who we are, and that's the trajectory of who we're going to be. So it is hard. Like given this opportunity, you could be messing with, what the puzzle's supposed to look like, and
Right.
it's a bad thing. So, hard call.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I knew that would be a tough question, and just knowing the premises of the film, so it made me so curious. Did anyone else want to add to that question, or?
I want to know if Julie would go through the portal. Yeah.
Well, what you guys said really resonated with me too. I think maybe that was part of where the story came from, is because I'm definitely a scaredy cat in that. Like, I'm not really a risk taker in my life. So if there was a chance of not being able to get back, I think I would not do that. And that speaks also to parenting responsibilities. It's like, oh, I'll just go. Maybe I can't get back. Whatever. The kids will be fine, right? The kids are all right, right? The kids. Yeah, I think that would be too stressful to me to wonder about that. But it's reminding me when I was a kid, you remember Choose Your Own Adventure books? I used to, this is this obsessive piece of me. I couldn't read them and just go like, oh, here's this ending and here's this ending. I would literally find myself with my fingers in different chapters to try to retrace, like, you can't see me doing this, but like I'd have like all 10 fingers wedged in the pages so I could retrace it and go to this. So I think I'm a little too obsessive, maybe even if it could happen safely to actually go through it, because then I'd be like, well, should I have done this?
Yes.
So, let's leave it in my hands.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I would be too nervous because I second guess myself in this world. I feel like I'm just now starting to be okay with the decisions and trust myself. I don't want a little door. I think there's a reason why we don't have a little door, because at some point in our life, we are going to have to get comfortable with who we are and the decisions that we make, and just trust that we're going in the right direction.
Plus, I love this question. I would be curious, what did the teenagers think? Like our young teens in the film. I'm like, I love this question. Make sure we ask them at the theater.
Yeah, we should ask at the Q&A. For sure.
Yeah.
Portal or not.
Absolutely.
Great question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this has been so fun chatting with all of you guys and learning the different perspectives and learning more about the film. Was there anything that I may not have asked or some things that we didn't discuss that you wanted to share?
Mentioned women in film and video just for another like local connection. Many of us, met through that organization. We have a really great chapter of women in film and video here in DC. And just for filmmakers out there, aspiring filmmakers, or anyone involved in the filmmaking process that it wants to get involved more, it's a great place to go to if you're starting to write a screenplay, or if you want to learn like how to use your camera, or anything like, anything in the whole. It's very
building connections. Certainly,
Yeah.
Robin, our other producer, was board president, and I was on the board when she was there. And then the introduction was reminded that I was going to be at Sundance, and Julie was maybe going to be there. So Melissa in the office is making that connection, and met Shoshana years before. So I think it's just a great place to meet people and be reconnected.
It's phenomenal. And one other thing I would just add was it was such a pleasure professionally and personally to get to work with this wonderful group of people, because Shoshana really sets a tone. Yeah, Shoshana was also a teacher, and this is delightful way of getting the cast and crew to work together with a very forward problem-solving looking component. I was always amazed with Shoshana being able to balance, directing, getting the best out in actors, while also keeping the production on track, because of course an independent film is very precise, needing to be done on time. And so just such a pleasure to be able to work with this group of collaborative problem solving people, the actors and the crew alike. Just really an amazing experience.
Yeah, for sure. I double that. This was a absolutely outrageously perfect crew. Everybody just did so much, and yeah, made it just tons of fun. Even when we were stressed out like crazy, it was just fun.
Yeah, we created a wonderful film family through this project, and I hope that many of us get to work together again.
Yeah, and actually, not just a film family, but some of our own family actually came out. That was a really cool opportunity to bring some of our.
Yeah, many of us have kids, and some of our kids came to set. Anne's daughter was, what was her? What did you call her role? Was she?
Yeah, just like third assistant camera and filmmakers. Yeah.
She was on set with us in days, which was great.
Yeah.
But there definitely was, because you had a lot of women. I mean, we were predominantly ladies above the line, that I think there was a very different energy, just because everybody had this caring approach to our work, and that we were there to be storytellers. And as I have mentioned before, I think just the inertia was all going in the same direction. There wasn't anybody who had a different agenda or plan. And that's very powerful when all of the energy of all of the people is moving in a caring, loving direction to complete the project and in the best interest of the project, not only the best interest of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No egos. I didn't feel any egos on set. We were all there to support each other. We all had a common goal in mind. And Shoshana has an amazing, I didn't know that you were a teacher, but it all makes sense now. She's got this uncanny way of getting you to do what she wants you to do, but you're like, how did I get here?
Oh, I love
Well,
that.
thank you. That's very kind.
With Shoshana on set, be kind of like asserting, being like assertive, but totally low key, and you don't feel like that male attitude of ego, even though it's not always male, but just it was always a good vibe on set. It was definitely different than a lot of other projects that I've been in.
And it's not like we weren't under duress. I mean, you only have 20 and you only have so much time. So it wasn't that we had this luxurious schedule and that we could be relaxed and kick back. We had to be very responsible and on track all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we had trains, planes, automobiles, tornadoes, power outages, and all some challenges, we still managed to have daily decorum, which was super.
Yeah, I mean, that's just super important to me. Being able to make a movie, and for me especially as a female director, being able to make a feature film is such an incredible gift that, and it's really fun. So it is a lot. It's stressful. There's a lot to do, and you got to stay on track. But also, like everybody has said, we were all in it together. Everybody loved Julie's script, and this was a story we were all excited about telling. It was cool. It was resonant with our own lives. And so it was like, even when you get stressed, you realize, wait, just take a second and like, look what we're getting to do. Like, what an incredible thing. So there's no reason to like, I know sometimes in film sets, people get a little stressed out or a little mean to each other. And it's like, it's really not necessary.
Yeah.
At least in this case, it wasn't, because I mean, most of the time we don't get to tell a story like this or, make a film together. So might as well enjoy it while we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And we did.
We did.
No, I love that. Like, just hearing like all of your enthusiasm and like how much, community, family, like that was involved in this production. So it has me so excited to, come see it like at the Avalon and welcome others to watch this film. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
This podcast is brought to you by the DCIFF supporters. We could not be here without all of you to be sharing this amazing outlet with filmmakers from around the world. If you are interested in supporting DCIFF, head on over to our website through the link description in the bio of this episode, or you can go right to the website, which is DCIFF-indie.org, to connect with us and learn more about our Future of Film programs, our festival, and also more educational opportunities in what we do with our high school students, community, and beyond. We look forward to your support.